Moldova, and as you can see the weather's looking pretty bad. And this is the route that I'm going to fly. This is from Chisnau airport. I'm going to fly to this point. This is called Odessa, and then I'm going to intercept the ILS and land at Odessa in Ukraine. This website that I'm using here, this is SkyVector. Now on here you can see that well, this is the border between Moldova and Ukraine. There's this some blue box. This is a sort of severe weather warning, and there's actually some very bad weather right now. It says severe turbulence forecast. Now if I look here, I can see the weather in Odessa, and it looks pretty bad. Well, light rain. The wind is coming from the south at about 20 knots, so it's pretty heavy. That's why I'm going to come in and land on the ILS towards the south. Okay, you can see my setup here. This is my joystick, and here's my gaming computer. I'm running a 1070. So let's get this ready. So I'm just going to make the flight, and I'm going to comment as I go. Now the weather here in Chisnau is looking pretty bad. This plane is the A320 Red Bull livery. Let's take a quick look around to see how it looks from the outside. I've got the beacons on, I forgot to switch those off, but we are just about to start the engine anyway. Chisnau airport actually looks pretty small. It doesn't seem to have any gates. You know, it seems that it's a place where you just have to walk to the aircraft. But then Moldova is a pretty small country, and Chisnau, I've been there once, but I've never been to the airport, so I don't know if it really looks like this. Anyway, let's get inside the cockpit and get ready. So the first thing I'm going to have to do, I'm going to switch off the beacon light for now. That shouldn't be on right now because we're not with the engine switched off. Now we've got the APU on, so we're getting power from the APU. I'm going to have to program the flight into the flight computer. I just landed here from Iași in Romania. So if you look at my flight plan, you can see that the flight plan from that trip is still there. I'm going to overwrite that with a new one. So we are going from, okay, I'm going to go to the init page, and then, okay, I need to clear the information that's there at the bottom. So I'm going to write here, and I'm going to write LUKK, which is where I am right now. This is Chisnau. I don't know why it's LU, because U is normally Ukraine. It's almost like it's L is for Europe, U seems like a code for Ukraine. But anyway, that's the code for Chisnau airport, and we're going to UK OO. Okay, so this is our departure and destination, and if we click up here, it should replace that. Okay, so here's the new information. There's no route, and if I return, that should be now programmed into the flight computer. So if we look at the plan of the route, I can switch this to plan, and it'll show me the flight plan, and I'll set the range. Okay, you can see that this is a direct route from Chisnau to Odessa. Now I'm going to add some points in there. I'm going to add a point which is approximately on the Ukrainian border. So I go into the flight plan, and I'm going to add the point Tursa, T-U-R-S-A, and if I click here, it should insert that point into the flight plan. Okay, maybe I need to click on this bit. Okay, it's saying that there's two different points with the same name. There's one that's the first one is 45 miles away. The second one is 1,000 miles away. Well, I want the one that's 45 miles away. That's the one we're going to, and it's showing me what the flight's going to look like. The yellow line is the one that's the change that it would make. So it would add this point. This is the border between Moldova and Ukraine. So I'm going to insert that. And so now that's all turned green. That's the flight plan for now, with that point entered. The other thing I need to do is to go to the destination, and I need to configure the arrival. So I'm gonna, here it's just showing me these two arrivals, NDB on runway 16 and 34. Let's see what else they've got if I scroll up and down. Alrighty, is that all they have? They don't have any ILS. Well, that's not very good considering the weather. But if that's all they've got, then that's what we're going to have to do. The weather is absolutely terrible. You can't see a thing. I mean, I think this is the type of weather where flights would be cancelled, really. But anyway, we're going to go for it. What's the worst that could happen there? So, we'll go for NDB runway 16. Because the wind in Odessa is from 180-20 knots. 180-20 knots. That sounds like it's going to be pretty rough. No? Now, this is going to show me what it's going to look like. Let me try. What would that look like? I'm going for. No, I don't want that. No, yes. I'm going for Y. I don't want that, no. Let's see what else is available. Let's go for that again. Arrival. We want NDB 16, runway 16. No star. And insert. Now what is that giving me? I'm going to need to go to the end of the flight plan and see that a bit closer. Because I can't really see what it's doing there. So, okay. Let's zoom out, change the range. Oh, I see what it's doing. So it's going to bring me in, making a sort of turn. So I'm going to come along on this green line. I'm going to fly over the airport, and then I'm going to fly up to this point here. And then I'm going to turn left and fly to here. And at this point I intercept the not the ILS, but I'm going to fly towards the airport on a heading of 160 to land on runway 16. Okay. Now let's see what was the visibility like at that airport, because it might be a bit difficult to land there without an ILS. It says 8,000 meters, light rain, broken at 400. Overcast at 600. The temperature's 8 and the dew point is 8, so there's a high chance of fog. Well, I mean, we're going to go for it, you know. Let's see if I can do it. It's going to be difficult, but let's try. And if I can't land there, I might divert to somewhere else or come back here. Okay. Let's just zoom out and check that the flight plan's correct. Okay, it looks okay. Alright, okay, so the next thing to do is let's get the engine switched on. So I'm going to switch on the beacon light now. As you can see, that works in the simulator. It's showing the red beacon on the top of the fuselage, and there's another one on the bottom showing the engine is just about to start. This weather is absolutely terrible. So let's imagine that the passengers are on board now. Okay, we've got the APU on already, so we're going to switch on the APU bleed. We can hear it coming on. Now we're going to have to wait for a second for that to come on, give us enough power. I'm going to switch on to the bleed. Switch on to the APU page. Okay, there's the APU. Okay, in fact we already have enough power to start the engine, so we're going to start the engine. Let's start engine 1, engine 2 first. So we switch this to, we're going to switch the selector to start, and engine 1, engine 2. So it's starting 2. As you can see, N2 is coming up. Should get to about, I think, 12% when they, is it 25% I think when they open the fuel valve, and okay, there's fuel flow now. So N2 25, you start to get fuel flow, the temperature starts increasing, and N1 starts going up. Okay, so next let's start engine 1. Same thing should be happening. As you can see from the outside view there, we've got engine 2 running there. Engine 1 should be starting up. Okay, N1 is at 5%. There we go, 10%. And now, yeah, it's shot up to about 17%, stabilized. Okay, we can switch off the ignition. There we go. So I'm going to get this into a comfortable position so that I can taxi. Now, for the takeoff, we want to set the auto brake to max. I'm going to check the wheel temperatures. Okay, they're not too hot. 80 degrees, it's not too bad. Under 300 is good enough for takeoff. Now, I'll go back to the engine page. That's all good. Now I can switch off the APU bleed. So there's APU bleed off, and I can switch off the APU. Next I'm going to switch on the taxi light, and I'll switch on this light as well. So now we've got some pretty good powerful lights to help us taxi. And we should see if we can contact clearance to get our IFR clearance to Odessa. So this is taxi for takeoff. Request taxi.
2222 with Echo, request taxi to the active departing straight out.
Airbus 2222 taxi to in hold short of runway 26 using taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 118 decimal 1 when ready.
Taxiing hold short runway 26 via taxiway Alphabet but 2222.
Okay, our takeoff checklist has just come up here, so I'm going to go through those items. So, seatbelt signs. Seatbelts on. Okay, spoilers on. Flaps, takeoff position. So that would be position 1. Should be shown here. This is 1 plus F. And we can see the flaps are extended here. And so we can test it with the takeoff config button. Press that. And that's disappeared. Okay, everything's. I'm going to switch that to arc mode and a range of 20 miles. And let's taxi. So I'm going to release the parking brake here. And we should be ready to go. So we're going to turn around and take that taxiway back there towards the runway. Looks like it might actually be snowing. I'm not sure. Is this snow or is this rain? Hard to tell. So we need to follow the yellow line. So we taxi along here. Now we do have windscreen wipers, but I don't really like to use them. I find them kind of distracting. They don't seem to actually do very much. They don't seem to wipe off any of those drops. You can actually see the windscreen wipers working, but they don't do what windscreen wipers are supposed to do. And the strange thing here is that you have controls for each side. So you have one for the captain side and a different control for the other side. Well, we might as well put them both on, I suppose. Is the other one working? Looks like it doesn't work. So, there we go. Yeah, it's working. But as you can see, the seat is empty. Just sitting by myself now. Look at that. Taxiing past a hangar. I've got a fuel station there. And a Cessna. Now that plane is definitely not going anywhere today. Let's try and keep in the centre of the taxiway. So this is quite a small airport, and this is where we are on the map. So we're going to take this runway here. Which runway was it? 26. So that should be runway 26. We'll have to check that it's the right one. I can see that it is though, because I'm heading right now in basically east, and we're going to take off towards the west. So that will be runway 26. So our flight to from Chisnau to Odessa should take about 20 minutes once we're in there. Maybe less than that actually. It's not far at all there. The total distance is 83 miles. 83 nautical miles. I'd expect a flight time of about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. So we are coming up to the runway holding point, and the visibility seems to have got even worse. I can hardly even see where I'm going. If you look to the left, you can see the windsock, and the wind is pretty strong, but it's straight down the runway. It's good. So I had to take a break for about half an hour, and the weather seems to have cleared up quite a bit. So that should be good. We'll have a bit more visibility on this flight. Now we are at the holding point for runway 26. So it's time to contact the tower and ask for takeoff clearance.
Chisnau Tower, bedbug 2222, ready for straight-on departure in runway 26.
Bedbug 2222 cleared for takeoff runway 26 departing straight out approved.
Cleared for takeoff runway 26, bedbug 2222.
Okay, so before we take off, we're going to switch on the landing lights. The runway, we'll switch the nose light to take off. The strobe is on auto. And let's just check the takeoff config is correct. We've got flaps 1 and remind everyone to sit down. So parking brake off. We should check that there's nobody on approach. I can't see anyone there. And nobody landing the other way. Now this is runway 26 and runway 08. We are actually not quite at the end of the runway, but it's not worth it to backtrack just for that little bit that's there. It's not much difference. You can see the windsock right behind us. The wind is quite a bit of a crosswind right now. So as we turn onto the runway, line up. I'm going to put the parking brake on, go back to the interior view. Started to rain again a little bit. Okay. We'll increase the throttles to about 40%, check everything's green, and gears. So full power. Brakes off. There we go. Getting quite a crosswind, blowing us to the right, which I'm having to correct with the pedals. Okay, our speed is 130 now. Rotating.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
Gear up.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
So the speed's increasing past 180. I'm going to put the flaps up.
Chisnau Tower, Bedbug 2222, frequency change.
Okay, I'm going to reduce power now to the climb. So I'll reduce it to the climb detent here. And it's on auto throttle, so it should maintain the speed automatically from this point on. And we should switch to, okay, it says ice detected. So we're going to switch on the anti-ice, which we can do here. Wing, engine 1 and engine 2. Okay, I'm going to switch off the landing lights at this point and retract them. So we are heading in the opposite direction right now. We should also so if I switch the autopilot on, change that to about say 10,000. Okay, so we were told frequency change approved. So the plane is now turning. We're banking to follow the route because I've set speed of 200 and an altitude of 10,000 feet. The heading though, I haven't set a heading. I've put it in manage heading mode, so that means it's going to fly the route on the flight plan. So it's turning around now to do that. Okay, I need to actually engage the altitude by pulling on that knob, and so we're now increasing our altitude. We're now climbing to 10,000 feet, and we're turning onto a heading of about 108 to head towards the first waypoint, which is Odessa, which is the point on the Moldovan-Ukraine border, which is 50 miles away. We're now pretty much heading in the right direction. Okay, this is the view on the outside. There's not much to see. The plane's all iced up. But we do have the anti-ice on the wings and the engines, so that should avoid any serious problems there. So I'm now going to contact clearance, and I'm going to ask for permission. I'm going to ask for clearance for the flight plan. I wasn't able to do that before I taxied on the ground here at Chisnau. I don't know why. Some airports let you do it, some airports in Flight Simulator don't give you that option. Normally this is something you would do before you even push back from the gate, but if it doesn't work, you can do it after you take off. So
Chisnau approach Bedbug 2222, 4 miles northwest of Chisnau. Request IACR to Odessa, ready to copy.
Bedbug
flight.
So she's given me a transponder code, which is entered here.
Radar contact 9,900 feet. QNH 29.32 continues the turning and following heading 100, proceed on course descent and maintain 7,000 feet.
Continue to Tursa turning and following heading 100, proceed on course, descend and maintain 7,000 feet, Bedbug 2222.
Bedbug 2222, contact Chisnau Center on 127.8.
127.8 for Bedbug 2222. Chisnau Center, Bedbug 2222 is out of 9,800 feet for 7,000 feet. Bedbug 2222, Chisnau Center, continue to Tursa as planned. Q1H 29.32.
Okay, I don't actually need to acknowledge that. I'm going to ask for a higher altitude though, because we're down here in the clouds.
Bedbug 2222, you are 73 miles northwest. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect vectors visual runway 34 approach. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect vectors visual runway 34 approach, Bedbug 2222.
Okay, actually, I'm going to ask if I can get a... Okay, now it seems I don't have the option to ask for high altitude, so I'm just going to stay at 7,000, but I don't think in real life anybody would want to fly in this kind of weather for very long. They'd be trying to get up above the clouds, you know. But right now I have something else to deal with anyway, because I was just told runway 34 and I can bring that back. So expect vectors visual runway 34. Okay, well, I actually have oh no, okay, 34. I have I do have that set up. Let me see if that's...
Bedbug 2222, please expedite your descent to 7,000 feet.
Runway 34. I think actually I don't want runway 34 because the weather in Odessa is the wind is coming from 180 with a speed of 25 knots, gusting to 40 knots. So I definitely don't want to be landing on that runway. No. I'm going to select another approach. NDB.
Bedbug 2222, please expedite your descent to 7,000 feet. Bedbug 2222, would like NDB runway 16 approach vectors to final. Bedbug 2222, you are flying 9 miles northwest. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect vectors NDB runway 16 approach. Circle to land runway 34. Please stand by Bedbug 2222. Bedbug 2222, roger. 222 with light visual runway 16 approach. Skybox 2222, you are flying 4 miles northwest. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect vectors visual runway 16 approach. Circle to land runway 34. Please stand by bedbug 2222. Skybox 2222, roger. Bedbug 2222 with light NDB runway 16 approach Delta transition. Skybox 2222, you are flying 0 miles northwest. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect NDB runway 16 approach by a Delta transition. Circle to land runway 34. Clear to Delta. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect NDB runway 16 approach by a Delta transition. Circle to land runway 34. Clear to Delta, bedbug 2222.
Okay, well, I'm going to change this now to NDB runway 16 via Delta. Okay, that's what I was told. So let's have a look. Delta.
Bedbug 2222, contact Odessa Center on 120.9. 120.9, bedbug 2222. Odessa Center, bedbug 2222, 6,900 feet. Bedbug 2222, Odessa Center, continue to Delta as planned. QNH 29.43.
Okay. I'm going to put this in plan mode and try and see what's going on here. So that's Delta. So we're here. It's taking us around in a sort of approach to runway 34, and then we're doing this sort of circle to land on runway 16. Let me see if I can listen to the ATIS. We have actually just crossed into Ukraine, so that was the border. That's why we're speaking to Odessa right now. If we have a look at the flight plan, we should see we have 51 track miles to go to our destination. These are track miles. These are not, not in a straight line. This means that if I follow that route all the way, which includes this circle around. So we're going to circle around, fly over the airport up to this point, and then turn around and come back down. This is the runway right here. So just to have a look at what the aircraft is doing right now. So speed is set to managed. manage speed mode, which means the autopilot is setting the speed, and it's currently 250 because we're below 10,000 feet. Heading is managed, which means that we're following the flight plan. So we're here right now, and this is the route that we're following. Altitude is set at 7,000 feet, and we're at exactly 7,000 feet right now with QNH 2943, which is the local QNH. We've got the anti-ice on because we're in icing conditions right now. You can see the total air temperature is +4. We're in a cloud, so you can see that there is a lot of ice on the outside of the plane. Now I could try turning on the weather radar, maybe I'll have a look at, and that looks absolutely terrible and a bit scary, but I'm going to turn that off because it's just scaring me. So I'm going to turn the weather radar off because it's just too ugly to look at. I can put the terrain on. Right now there's no... This will show me if there's any areas of high land, any mountains or something, since we can't see the ground. We can't see anything right now actually. Yeah, so there we go. One thing that I might be able to do is check the ATIS. Now there's different...
Turkish 467, you are 14 miles south. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors visual.
Okay, that's not for me, that's somebody else. They're using runway 16.
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors visual. Runway 16 approach Turkish 467.
So that's a Turkish Airlines flight. Now, this is where it's quite realistic because I know Odessa Airport, a lot of flights coming in from Istanbul. They do have a lot of flights coming in from Istanbul. It's just about 1 hour across the Black Sea, and a lot of Turkish people go on holiday to Odessa, so it's quite realistic. I mean, that's probably a real flight, but Flight Simulator takes the data from flight radar, I think. So it looks like there's some rain. We're flying through an area with a lot of rain. Well, we can't see anything, but...
Memo 2222, descend and maintain 3,000 feet.
Okay, time to descend. 3,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Memo 2222. Turkish 467, you are 1,200 feet above your assigned altitude. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. QNH 29.388.
That is another plane right there. Do we have the TCAS on?
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Turkish 467.
And that plane is getting closer and closer. Well, I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. It seems to be coming straight towards us. We're descending, yeah. Yeah, it's flying straight towards us. That's pretty concerning. I would be concerned if I was seeing that. Now we have.
2222, please expedite your descent to 3,000 feet.
We're descending right now. Okay, it looks like it's. You see, this plane is moving to the right, which means that we're going to pass it to the left. We're not quite. I'm gonna. It's above us as well. I'm gonna put the air brakes out and increase our rate of descent a little bit. It's definitely above us now. I don't know what plane that is. That seems to be climbing up.
2222, traffic is 1 o'clock, 4 miles at 9,800 feet generic.
Yes.
Report them in sight.
Okay, well I did see it, so I'll report that in sight.
Turkish 467, traffic is 1 o'clock, 3 miles at 5,900 feet. Airbus A320. Report them in sight.
So that is Turkish.
Memo 2222, please
So that was the Turkish Airlines.
Turkish 467 traffic in sight.
They saw me, and I also saw them. We've passed each other by now anyway.
Bedbug 2222 will have the traffic.
It's amazing in this weather that you can see anything. So I definitely can't see the ground. Okay, well we're just about to make our turn to the left. Now I haven't even turned off the seatbelt signs during this flight, which I think is quite realistic because on such a short flight you wouldn't, and also in this weather it's pretty bumpy and clouds the whole way. So,
Bedbug 2222, please expedite your descent to 3,000 feet.
well, we're at 5,000 feet. I think we're doing just fine, but one way I can increase that without increasing speed is just putting out the speed brakes. And if I have a look at the rate of descent, it is increasing. I'm going to put one stage of
Turkish
flaps,
467, you are 300 feet above your assigned altitude.
and that should slow us down.
10,000 feet QNH 29.41.
Okay, we are starting our turn to the left. It's
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet Turkish 467. Bedbug 2222, please expedite your descent to 3,000 feet.
put another stage of flaps down. That should also help us to slow and lose height more quickly. We need to be at 3,000 feet by this point, which is ahead of us.
Bedbug 2222, you are 900 miles southwest of Odessa. Contact Odessa Tower on 125.5 when inbound. Tower on 125.5, Bedbug 2222.
Ah, that's the Turkish. Past.
Odessa Tower, Bedbug 222 to 8 miles southwest inbound NDB runway 16 approach circle to lane runway 34. Bedbug 2222 Odessa Tower. Cleared NDB runway 16 approach. QNH 29 decimal 41121412. Cleared NDB runway 16 approach Bedbug 2222.
Okay, I'm gonna set the auto brakes. So auto brakes to medium. I'm gonna set the spoilers aren't. Might have to do that again later if I actually use the spoilers. I don't think I will. Okay, landing lights are on. So you can see there's the landing lights. Seatbelt signs are on. Just seats for landing. So, okay, I'm going to turn that off. So we are at 3,000 feet. We still can't see the ground. And we're pretty much just about to fly right over the top of the airport. We're going to fly over the top of the airport at 3,000 feet, then we're going to turn around. So this is Odessa Airport here. We're at 3,000 feet. We're going to fly over the top of Odessa Airport. We're going to fly up here, and then to this point. We need to be at 2,000 feet, 2,100 by this point, and then we're going to fly inbound to runway 16. Our speed is now 140 It's in managed speed mode, so that's automatic based on the flaps setting. I've still got the anti-ice on. So I've slowed down because we're close, and also because in order to make these turns, I'm going to need to not be going too fast. Otherwise, it would be impossible to make such a tight turn. If I open the other map, the visual map, okay, that Turkish Airlines flight is up here. So he came in from the south, and they've given him a different type of approach. I think that's actually the more, that's a real aircraft, so that is doing whatever that real aircraft actually did, and that makes a lot more sense. I mean, the approach they've given me is quite strange, really. I wouldn't really expect them to be making an aircraft do this kind of maneuver, because it's a bit difficult. It's a bit risky to be making such tight turns so close to the ground. So it's more normal that they'd vector them around to the north and then just have them come straight in with a nice long final. You see, that's like a 20-mile final, whereas for me, I'm going to end up with like a 10-mile final. Anyway, so I can change the range now to 10 miles. So apparently, okay, we're going to fly to this point first and then to this point. So that's going to be the really, really tight turn that we're going to have to make to intercept basically the localizer for the runway 16. Now, it seems that there actually is an ILS which is showing up here. I have the ILS tuned in. For some reason, Flight Simulator doesn't recognize it as an ILS, so it's not. It's saying that I'm doing an NDB approach, but actually this will be an ILS landing, which is kind of a relief because, I think I'm going to need it. I can't see a damn thing right now, so I'm going to have to watch out for this traffic because he's coming in this way, I'm coming this way, and I'm going to turn. At a certain point, we're going to be pretty close together. It looks like. So I've got the auto brake set to medium. Okay, speed is 140, that's fine. Before the turn, I'm going to put down a bit more flap just to slow down even more. And then I'm going to make this turn, and as I come in here, as I come towards this point, I'm going to switch to the ILS to land on 1116. Let's listen to the ATIS. Okay, well, we're coming up to our turn, so let's get another set of degree of flap down. We'll go to full flaps, and let's watch it as it makes the turn, make sure that it does it correctly. Up there we can see the traffic, Turkish Airlines. So we are turning. And it seems to be doing okay. Looks like we're going to come in ahead of the Turkish Airlines flight. according to the artist, the weather didn't seem all that bad, but well, Turkish Airlines is coming pretty close.
Odessa Tower, Turkish 46711 miles northwest inbound, visual runway 16 approach.
We're pretty much on a collision course with that Turkish Airlines plane right now.
Turkish 467 Odessa Tower. Cleared visual runway 16 approach. QNH 29.41121412.
Okay, well I'm gonna put it on localizer mode and switch to the ILS.
Cleared visual runway 16 approach, Turkish 467.
Okay, where is Turkish Airlines? Is it above me, below me? Pretty much, it's right behind me.
Turkish 467 cleared to land runway 16. Wind 214 at 12.
I think we're actually too high.
Cleared to land runway 16, Turkish 467.
I'm gonna put the wheels down. I'm gonna try and do this manually. Now, what is our distance? Ah. Okay, we've got the gear down. We're above the glide scope. There, I can see the runway. Okay. There's Turkish Airlines right ahead of me. See if I can slow down a bit. Now we are going to land right behind that Turkish Airlines plane. Now obviously in real life you just go around, or you wouldn't even take the risk to get so close, but this is a game in the end, so we might as well have some fun.
Turkish 467 contact ground on
I don't know why the control is speaking to the Turkish Airlines flight and they're not even talking to me. And they seem to have just forgotten that I'm there. Never mind. So we can just about see the runway. Much too high.
Chisnau 2222, you are not cleared to land. Clear the runway.
Well, they just forgot about me. What can you say?
Chisnau 2222, you are not cleared to land. Clear the runway. 1.7 for bedbug 2222.
Okay, well, I don't know why they were just ignoring me basically on the approach. They seemed to just completely forget about me, and they were busy with the Turkish Airlines. I don't know if I made a mistake. If I go over the communications there, Autoland. They cleared me for the approach. But then they just seemed to forget about me. They never gave me landing clearance. I don't know why. Anyway, so we're on the ground. Now let me see where I need to go to get to the terminal. So I've used most of the runway. Okay, yeah, so this is the runway. And I'm going to need to backtrack along that taxiway, and the terminal is on the right. Okay, I'm going to switch off the landing lights and just switch on the taxi lights for the taxi in. Okay, so I can switch off the anti-ice at this point since we're on the ground. I'm going to switch on the APU. It's the master switch. Wait a couple of seconds and then start. And this is so that we'll have power after I shut down the engines. And I'm going to retract the landing lights, the left one and the right one, and I'll set the nose light to taxi. Runway turn off lights. You know what? I'll maybe leave those on. It's pretty dark. This is the difference with the runway turn off lights. Are those two that go to the side. That's just the nose light, and that's with the turn off lights. I'll leave those on. Okay, the other thing we need to do is flaps up. So flaps up. Flaps up. And we'll trim it back to neutral. 0. Okay. And we need to speak to ground and get permission, so that I don't get told off again. I'm just going to ask taxi to parking. Okay.
Odessa ground, bedbug 2222, taxi to parking. Bedbug 2222, taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Alpha. Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway Alpha, bedbug 2222.
Okay, we're ready to taxi to parking. Seems the weather here is just as bad as it was before in Chisnau. Not good weather for flying at all. The wind is actually so strong that the plane needs quite a lot of power just to roll forward. Normally idle it rolls forward, but not today. So it seems like, yeah, I'm going to take this taxiway to the left here, and that's going to take me back to the terminal. Now, I have actually been to Odessa, and it's a very strange airport. It's what happened is they built a new terminal, but they didn't really finish it. So they still have the old terminal in use, and there are jet bridges at the new terminal, but they're not in use. So they built the terminal basically, but they never got around to building the jet bridges. I think they maybe ran out of money, or something went wrong anyway, and they didn't manage to finish the work. So it's like a new terminal, but without any jet bridges, and half of the terminal is out of use. If you look out of the window from the departure lounge to where you'd normally see a plane parked at a jet bridge, you can just see trees that are still planted there that You can see where the jet bridge should be connected, but it's not there, and there's just trees. So I don't know if it's going to look like that in Flight Simulator, but that's what it looks like in real life. It's pretty strange. And so they're using, when you're departing, you have to go to the old terminal, and when you arrive, the part of the new terminal that they're using is just the arrivals part. So arrivals is in the new terminal, departures in the old one, and they use buses to take people to the planes. So anyway, so it makes sense that I'm not being told to taxi to a gate, because as far as I know there are no gates, not yet anyway. So we are about halfway along. And from that it's pretty hard to see exactly what it is that we're looking at, but I think this one here is the new terminal, and that's the old one. I think so. Get going a bit faster. So I'm having to taxi the whole way along the way. So we can see up ahead a sort of modern looking building, which I think is the new terminal. I guess that's probably what it is. So let's see if I can just oops, what's that doing? Oh, okay. Didn't know I could do that. It always looks like you're moving slowly when you look from the outside of the plane, but when you look inside it looks like you're going crazy fast. Imagine the truth is kind of somewhere in the middle. There's some car coming straight towards me. Let me try and avoid him. So I can get there without killing anyone. Too fast. But that looks like the new terminal building to me. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to park here. So there we are next to the new terminal building, which in real life that does exist, and there's an old building back there somewhere. So yeah, what they would do is they would bring buses, they would bring stairs and buses. So let's switch off the nose lights. Nose light, runway turn off light off. Now we can shut down the engines. Shut down 1, shut down 2, and we'll switch off the seatbelt signs. And there we go. At this point people would be getting up and pushing towards the exits, and let's see if we can actually get some kind of stairs to get passengers off the plane. It seems like that doesn't work at this airport, so unfortunately we can't do that. So if we come back here, you can hear the APU running. So let's just finish shutting down the aircraft. Okay, we're going to imagine that the passengers have got off the plane at this point. They've taken their bus, and we're going to shut down the plane and leave it here overnight. So what we're going to do, we can switch off the beacon light now because the engine is off. Switch off the wing lights, switch off the nav light, the logo lights. The last thing is the APU. But before we do that, let's just switch off the systems that we're not going to need. So we switch this off overnight because then the oxygen won't leak out whilst we're not flying the plane. We're going to switch off all the fuel pumps. We're going to switch off the gyroscopes. They use a lot of power just to spin around, so you see that's turned red, which means that the gyroscopes are out of service right now. Now we can switch off the transponder, put that on standby. Okay, I don't think it's doing anything. Now, one by one, we can switch off all the instruments. You turn down the brightness, and when it gets all the way to the left, the thing switches off. So for these instruments here, and this one. Okay, we could turn off the floodlights and so on. I don't think it's necessary. So let's just check everything's in its position. So the thrust levers are at idle. The pitch is set to 0. The flaps are up. Speed brakes up. The gears down. We're going to switch off the APU at this point. If we listen at the back of the plane, you can kind of hear it spooling down slowly. It takes a while to completely switch off. Whilst it does that, I'm just going to switch off the rest of the lights. So this is a light I was never using anyway. It's the integral panel light. And I'm going to switch off the battery. So battery 1, battery 2.